about the vitamins and supplement industry. Um, Unfortunately, or fortunately, so this is one of those double-edged swords. Um, the the trouble is that it's hard to know what the truth is, and sadly, what supplements are actually, full of good stuff, what may have contaminations and things of that nature. In general, in the supplement industry, the vast majority of supplement producers are pretty much above the board. And when there are contamination issues or there's products in the supplements that we don't want to be there, most often these supplements are related to things like, weight loss or what do they call those male performance enhancements? And so those are the ones that tend to be contaminated with stuff we don't want to have around. And rarely we'll see some other products that have contamination issues, but thankfully the vast majority of what's out there is safe. The issue is it actually effective? And so I want to go through a few things with you that you can look for to make sure that what you're buying is safe and effective. So first of all, for pets, most of the supplements out there have some sort of a flavoring agent in them. And so if your dog or your cat has sensitivities to a particular protein, say chicken, and or beef or something of that nature, those are the most common flavoring agents. So if your pet's sensitive to them, there's a good chance that the supplement may make your pet react, even if it's a tiny little pet tab, about an inch in diameter, something of that nature. That can create a problem. The other thing you want to look for is that all these chews that they're producing, I mean, these are wildly successful because they're easy. We give them to our pets like treats. However, they often contain things like flaxseed and brewer's yeast, things of that nature. And those aren't necessarily good because, again, they can create food sensitivities or cause your pet to have a sort of an allergic reaction, more often a sensitivity reaction to them. The second thing I would suggest is to use either powders, again, if the flavoring agent is not going to create sensitivity issues for your pet, or capsules would be a better option. So most of the capsules now are vegetarian capsules, so that's awesome because they tend to be less reactive. And the reason I say capsules instead of tablets is that there's less processing involved in making a capsule, and they're in making a tablet, they have to use these bonding agents and waxes and all this stuff to get the tablet to stay in that compressed shape, right? So it's one less step to have to worry about, and one less set of stuff in this supplement that may or may not be good for your pet. The other thing I would really encourage you to do is to avoid proprietary formulas. And the reason is that you don't know if the effective dose of a supplement is being used, whether that's too high or too low, and also how much of any other thing is included in the formula. So for instance, a multivitamin product may contain too much or too little of a particular nutrient. So I was kind of lamenting a supplement that's out there that's made by another veterinarian that is made to address the fact that people are not feeding home cooked food. And unfortunately, the entire thing is proprietary. So there's a list of the things that are in the supplement, but you have no idea how much. So for instance, that becomes important when we're talking about things like zinc and selenium. Those two minerals can actually create toxicity issues when they are in something in excess. So make sure kind of that, they're listing things out. And so, a good example is if you go and look at the Holistic Total Body Support label, it's very clear how many milligrams of, how many milligrams of each of the glandular products, how many milligrams of magnesium, how many IUs of vitamin A, etc. So you know exactly what's in there, and you know that it's designed to be safe for your pet and to help optimize the health. The doses are appropriate. And I would say the same thing of many of the other good quality things that are out there, like the Mercola supplements, although they tend to add some things that I'm not too fond of. And so having said that, the other thing you want to do is avoid fillers like cellulose, gums, maltodextrin, things that may create GI issues. So cellulose is paper. It's also an enormous component of many commercial pet foods, and it's used to create textures, and so are many of the gums. Many, the issue with these is that they can have things like reaction to these as far as the GI bugs, because they actually eat this stuff. And so that can be good, but it can be bad as well if it's not feeding the right bugs. So the other thing I wanted to mention as well is that steroids may have gotten a bad rap. So I had read, and probably you have as well, that magnesium stearate, calcium stearate, these are the two most commonly used ones. So what's happening is a stearate is a type of fat, and it is fairly highly processed. So that part's not so great, but it's combined with calcium or magnesium to help the product flow. And flow is important in the manufacturing process in order to get stuff to be evenly distributed throughout the powder or the capsule, things of that nature. So we've got to use something to help the product flow. But the thing that steroids were supposed to do were to suppress T cell function, which is a really critical component of the immune system. But there was a paper that came out about that, about it creating issues as far as T cell function in mice, but there's been no evidence that actually happens in higher mammals like us and dogs and cats. The other thing is they're purported to have inhibited the absorption of the nutrients or drugs they were mixed in, but again, that's not really shown to be true either. The other thing you want to do is choose supplements with doses you know are effective, and don't get distracted by the advertising hype. A great example is fish oil. So with fish oil, I've said many, many times, your goal dose for a pet that has cancer or really, some major disease issues going on, like kidney disease, things of that nature, is that you want to look for somewhere between 50 and 100 milligrams per kilogram of body weight. And that's the omega-3 dose, not the total fish oil dose. You also want to look for an all fish-based supplement, not flax or other plant-based omega-3s, because unfortunately our pets, and actually we, have a great deal of difficulty absorbing those omega-3s. So the one caveat may be algal oil. And let's see, Nordic Naturals does make an algal oil-based omega-3 fatty acid supplement. And so that's appealing to me because algae are pretty, they're pretty awesome, and they're easy to grow and things of that nature. We're going to have a lower impact on our fisheries, so to speak, because we have way overfished, sadly. You also want to, if you're using a fish-based oil, look for something that's made from anchovy and sardines, which are renewable. Krill oil, there is a great deal of information that that's not a great idea, because that's the lowest point of the food chain in the ocean. And so when fish oil became a thing, and again, I've said this many times, and I did research this to make sure I'm not telling you the same old saw without the truth behind it. But there is a great deal of concern that the krill oil biomass has been diminished since it's been used as a supplement. So again, big impact on our oceans, which are struggling mightily as it is. And then lastly, you want to avoid supplements with lots of preservatives. So the goal of a preservative is to prolong the shelf life past when the product may actually be effective. And ideally, what it's doing is actually preserving the efficacy of the product. So you're going to see things like tocopherols and rosemary extract and sunflower lecithin and ascorbyl palmitate. And these are all like natural preservatives. And the reason is that The I have this means that this product is going to have a much longer expiration date on it, and that's not a bad thing, but my concern is that the actual efficacy of the product may go away. Additionally, tocopherols are vitamin E, and that's that can be a big problem if you get too much vitamin E on board. So that's kind of my what I've got for you this week. Karen's saying she just had an ER vet visit with Dino for a urinary tract infection, and probably not caused by the glucosamine and chondroitin you started last month, Karen. But what you do want to do is make sure you keep that urine really dilute so that the bacteria don't have a chance to grow in the urine. And one supplement that is very effective to help with that is D-mannose. So D, the letter D is in dog, hyphen mannose, M-A-N-N-O-S-E. And it's a sugar. The thing that's fascinating is it seems to help prevent the little E. coli and Pasteurella from being able to attach to the bladder wall. It also seems to relieve inflammation in the bladder wall and help things get more comfortable. So, and April said she just got some Ultra Omega from Nature Made, and that's great. I'm glad, you were able to find that, April. That's awesome. So that's what I've got for you this week. We do have the Pause in Effect webinar starting actually tonight on the 8th. So I'll put that link down there. If you've not signed up, go check it out. I think you'll get a lot of great information from, not just about food, but for things like behavior, information, training, things of that nature. So that should be really awesome. And then the last thing is we're going to have a 10% off sale through in the store on almost everything until the 14th of this month. So check that out. So Beth, D-mannose is not really good for dogs with kidney failure. It's more just for chronic bladder infection or an acute bladder infection. So, your home runs there for kidney disease are probiotics and omega-3 fatty acids. Any questions I can answer for you all in the meantime? Yeah, and Lorraine, I'm not familiar with Dr. Tobias's supplements. I think he's got some good products. I haven't looked at them in a long time, but I know he's really been conscientious about trying to fix things up. And Aaron, thanks for pointing out there's a 404 page not found. That's awesome. So I will go check that out and make sure that it works and all that good stuff. So we're in Fraser, California, in the Los Padres Mountains. We'll be here for about another week, and then we're heading up to Yosemite. And it's nice to be back in the cool in the mountains. Until next week, remember, your pet's best health starts in the bowl. I'm Dr. Ruth Roberts, your pet's ally.